Actual business if you are here. So number 2, communications. And our first thing is actually the president's report, which I am not the president. But I did want to take just a minute or so to recognize all the good work that Tim Sliz did. I'm sure many of you, and I've had lots of emails and comments. He did resign, and we were sad to see him go. We had hoped that maybe he would stick it out a little longer. He is a very busy man, if you know Tim. He is on the village board as well. My children never had him at JP, unfortunately, but I did have many interactions, and I continue to with his role on the village board. So I just wanted to recognize that he did an amazing job as the board president and also as a board member. We were sad to see him go, but we're hoping that we can collaborate with him in the future in other ways. So I just wanted to make sure that we address that. And I'm going to hand it over to Brett for the superintendent report.
Thank you, and thank you everybody for remaining here. Really appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about what's happening and how we're moving forward in this incredible school year. We had a great summer of learning. We had opportunities to connect with kids on many different levels, from K-8, special ed, and general ed summer school, summer learning opportunities. Next month, we're looking forward to sharing those with the board, and that will be also broadcasted for our community to see the great opportunities that occurred with our music program as well. We had students come and participate in music lessons. There were opportunities to really engage kids, and we're looking forward to sharing that as we move forward. And we thank all the teachers who spent so much time with our students and the administrators for bringing it to fruition. The capital project is well underway. We're really on time with all the different things that are occurring this year. This summer was focused solely on the high school, and I know our construction team is here, is going to talk about our timeline and why we scoped and sequenced it the way that we did it and the way that we've been communicating throughout the past several months. So we are definitely on time, and we're looking forward to hearing from our campus and LaBella team. And we're looking forward to having our students eventually come back to a new multi-purpose field, and they'll see the construction and some of the things that they need to do to navigate the start of the school year. This right here, a year ago, it's amazing. Like 2 years ago, we wouldn't have known what this sign meant, right? And it's just amazing, that this has become our norm and our standard. I've been sending out communication. I will continue to send out communication, but as you know, the communication changed this afternoon, right? And it's a dynamic, fluid process that we're going to continually have to evolve. Right now, the governor is directing the Department of Health to institute universal masking for everyone entering our schools, right? That sort of escalates it. Before it was left up to the school districts, now they're looking at this as a way to mandate the Department of Health in the middle of the pandemic, where over 650,000 people have died. Launching a back-to-school COVID-19 testing program, that's nothing new. We engaged in that over the past year, and we had great success, and also give lots of reassurances that our schools are healthy and safe places. Developing a method to require vaccinations for all school personnel. Okay, this is what the governor was saying today, and it's something that we're watching. It's not a mandate at this point in time, but we're watching it carefully, and we'll be communicating that as we move forward. But we will be coming back to school. That's the best news, and all of our students will be together. That's the best news. There'll be opportunities to interact, learn from each other, learn from our amazing educators, and totally experience our program the way it was intended to be experienced. I think tonight was also, I think you guys have done a much better job than I have or I could ever do, but I was sharing these very important numbers to consider. These are our budget votes over the past 10 or so years, 11 years, with the exception of 2020, because it was the mail-in ballots. We had an incredible turnout. Probably it was the largest turnout that I was able to just fit on that screen. I could have gone back further, and would have been the same results. There was a 75% approval rating for our programming in our schools. That was resounding. And that, to me, speaks to what our community believes in. These are not new ideas. We've been talking about educating every child and the whole child for several years. This is my 15th, 16th year in the district, and we are still talking about this very important imperative. It's not a goal, it's an imperative. It's in our DNA. This was the Board of Education core belief statement in 2014. Caring, respectful, civic responsibility. This is a goal, vision, and mission document that speaks to diversity, equity, accessibility, and diverse outcomes for each student. Diverse society, access and equity in our mission. Diverse and global communities. Our board recognizes that. This has been in the works. I've been fortunate enough and blessed to be the superintendent for, I'm going on my 7th year. This has been in the works. We've been working on this for 7 years. Nothing has changed. This has not changed. For over 25 years, we've been talking about civility, awareness, respect, and embracing differences. The community has said that loud and clear. They said it in May, and they've said it in the comments tonight. We will continue to do that. And we will continue to do it with the highest degree of honor and responsibility as public servants, as public educators. We know our role. We need to continue to develop that. This past month, the board, I'll be recommending the board to confirm these district goals. In order to connect and reconnect with our learners, as a district, we will welcome, celebrate, and affirm the story of every child. Isn't that a Fairport Central School District goal? Rolled out of their tongues last week. We will honor our diversity and be committed to equitable and inclusive opportunities for all students. Doesn't say for some, it's all students. And we're reviewing and resetting our strategic plan. And we're going to have an opportunity to get another shot as we continue to move through our strategic planning process. So when we talk about sustainability, when we go out to the community and we ask for input, if sustainability is a priority, let's talk about it. And I know our board wants to hear from our community. There'll be opportunities for your input. We've been welcoming our new educators. There's 27 new educators in our district. We celebrated and welcomed them last week. Our staff this summer have been busy. They've been taking these 187 days, we call them. They're professional learning days. In essence, every educator has been working on restorative practices, meaning how do you bring students back in and make them feel comfortable? How do you bring them in a way after being disengaged? I have a junior, a rising senior, excuse me. He's been disengaged, not going to school every single day, despite heroic efforts by our administrators and our teachers. The stamina is going to be an issue for some of these kiddos who haven't been to school. So we need to welcome them back in a restorative way. We talked about the culturally responsive and sustaining educational framework. This is just good teaching. I've been in teaching long enough, 27 years, 27 and a half years, counting that half. And it talks about welcoming and affirming environments. That's what we do in Fairport. We are welcoming and we affirm. We create spaces that are conducive to learning, caring, and sharing. It's the very reason why I brought our students, or my children, to this school district, because I believe in the vision and mission in the affirming environments. Have high expectations for meaningful instruction and programming. Create inclusive curriculum and assessment, and making sure that we're engaging our professionals in high-quality professional development around these ideas. And it was said earlier, but culturally responsive and sustaining educational framework is for everyone, right? It's multiple expressions of diversity. It's best teaching practices. And that's what we're focusing on. If you look at the culturally responsive educational sustaining framework, those ideas of what quality teaching is. When you and I went to school, when we went to teacher school, when I was teaching, this is what we aspire to do and be. We're engaging in it, and all of our educators have and will continue to be immersed in these ideas as we move forward. We're looking forward to welcoming our staff back on September 1st. The first day, there's going to be 4 onboarding days before our students come back on October 9th. Is going to be about self-care. We want our educators to learn how to take care of themselves. And every single month for this school year, we will be investing time and resources to interact with our professionals so they have the skills and the resources to take care of themselves. Because if they can take care of themselves, they're going to take care of our children. September 2nd, we're talking about trauma-informed care. Our kiddos are coming back. Some of them have been disengaged. Some of them had different learning opportunities. How do we bring them back in a way that's safe and nurturing? Not coming out of the gates talking about academic prowess, but coming out of the gates making sure that they're safe, making sure that Maslow's hierarchy of needs are being met and kids are feeling safe and secure. On September 7th, again, we're having conversations about restorative practices, bringing in experts from our community. We're revamping our total code of conduct and taking a restorative lens and mindset. And the culture responsive framework will be an important part of that. And we want to bring our professionals along so when we go through the code of conduct review process, it's not the very first time that they hear and see the changes to the code of conduct. So we're starting early with that endeavor. And when we get through the code of conduct, the community will have an opportunity to see it and comment on it. And we'll be talking about it and reporting on it throughout the year. And lastly, but definitely not least, on September 8th, transformational social emotional learning. Highlighting high yield interpersonal skills. Our educators have the opportunity every single day to affect and influence students. We want to make sure that we celebrate and honor this idea of social emotional learning, interpersonal skills, connecting with our students. There's effective, intentional strategies, simple strategies that can occur that can totally influence the dynamic of a classroom and promote learning and help students be the best version of themselves. So that's our onboarding days, which I think it's important that you see that there's a systematic approach to embedding the culture responsive framework, putting forth some very important concepts like restorative practices, making sure that we're reviewing our data through our data teams. Every single one of our schools will be engaging in this work because of the board's vision and high expectations. We do know our role as public educators, and I'm not saying we're perfect. I am saying that we have clarity that we need to meet students where they are. Equity is based upon our students' individual needs. Anyone who's a parent knows that every child is different, every child has different needs, and you try to serve those needs. Teach with objectivity and accuracy. That is what you do when you're in a classroom in a public school in the Fairport Central School District. Teach about perspective. Teach about multiple perspectives. Teach about multiple voices, not from a perspective. Our programming and curriculum must cultivate critical thinkers and problem solvers for the benefit of each other and our democracy. I love our democracy. I am passionate about making this democracy not only do okay, but thrive. And we have the ability and opportunity to do that in our schools. All along while providing safe and nurturing environments that are conducive, again, to learning, caring, and sharing. And this is the hallmark of a Fairport experience. We talk about, making sure that students are supported social emotionally, also the physical wellness piece. Our board has committed to clubs and extracurricular activities to engage students as we come out back into school full time. Our behavior, our academic expectations, all around this idea of serving the whole child and equity. Last but definitely not least, the federal funding, the $9.6 million. I'm not going to go over every single bit of information. We'll post this on our website. But we interacted with the community. We interacted with our staff. The board also had expectations on how are we going to spend our federal dollars. The federal dollars are meant to support our students. They're one-time expenses that we need to manage as we continue to move through the next 3 years. Right now, funds are allocated to support approximately 36 full-time equivalents. And you could see we've used the dollars for instructional technology, to reduce class sizes, for literacy and math remediation and enrichment. We've rounded out our teams at the middle school, so those could be geared and wired to support our students in the middle school fashion as they have and are supposed to be doing. We've put counselors and psychologists in buildings because we know students will need support as they come in to school. 8 building paraprofessionals have been added to support our schools to have extra hands on deck because kids are going to come. They're going to have a range of needs, and we're going to need to have staff to support these students. We've expanded our UPK program, added 1 full day class for early intervention. We're excited to do that because we believe that that is money and dollars well spent. Looking forward to be reporting and sharing information on that throughout the year. Increased after school extracurricular activities and supplemental opportunities. And again, I feel really good about this list because reaching out to the community, talking with our staff, aligning it with the board's expectations, I feel that this is our best response to that. So we'll be reporting more about that, talking about it in audit and finance, reporting to the board, and having, I'm sure, conversations on how we're doing here. I can go on and on about all the great things that we're doing in our schools. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve this community. Thank you for giving me the floor here to share all the good stuff that is occurring.
Thanks, Brett. We're going to move on to the consent calendar. So I need a motion to approve the minutes of the reorganization meeting and regular board meeting as attached. So we had it as an attachment. Can I get that? I can. I thought I had to do each one. Do you want me just to read off the list? Okay. The next thing that we are going to vote on at the very end is approval of the minutes for the special board meeting minutes. Approval of minutes from the board workshop that we had on August 12th. We'll do to accept the bid recommendations as attached. To approve the surplus recommendations. And now, can I have a motion to approve all of the things on the consent calendar? Mary Caitlin, Joyce, all in favor? 4 yes, 0 opposed. Now we move on to donations. Motion, well, I could say what it is. There was a donation from Martha Brown towards Brotherhood Sisterhood Week. So I need a motion from the Board of Education to approve. It's $200 to the Martha Brown Middle School from the Martha Brown PTSA. It's attached if you want to take a look at it. I know we already did. Second, Marty and Mary Caitlin, all in favor?
Aye.
4 yes. The next one is a donation again from JP, Joanna Perrin. A motion that the Board of Education approves the following $300 donation for JP School from the JP PTSA. Can I get a motion? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4 yes, none opposed. Now we're going to move on to the personnel actions. And these are one-year positions that we were able to put in place with the money that Brett was just talking about. So whereas the Fairport Central School District has received federal stimulus funds to create teaching positions that are accordingly limited to 1 year, be it resolved that the board approves the federal agreements between the district and the individual teachers as attached. And we have 3 different people. Can I get a motion? Joyce, second. Marty, all in favor?
Aye.
4 yes. The next one is personnel agreement. The Board of Education approves a written agreement between the superintendent of schools and an employee of the district executed on August 20th, 2021. Can I get a motion? Marty, Joyce, second. All in favor?
Aye.
4 yes. The next one is instructional, so a motion to approve the following instructional staff actions is recommended by the superintendent of schools. There is quite a lengthy list. I do not think I have to read it all.
No.
So you can scroll down. Can I get a motion? Joyce? Marty? All in favor?
Aye.
4. 4 yes, none opposed. The next one is non-instructional and civil service. So the motion to approve the following non-instructional and civil service staff actions is recommended by the superintendent of schools. And again, there is a lengthy list that I'm not going to read. Can I get a motion? Marty, Joyce, all in favor?
Aye.
4 yes. Athletics. Motion to approve the following athletic staff actions is recommended by the superintendent of schools. And you can see there is a shorter list, but there are quite a few. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Mary Caitlin, Marty, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
4 yes, none opposed. And now we're going to move on to number 6, which is presentations. And I think we're going to have our friends join us at the.
Yes, we have our
microphone.
friends from campus, and Labella will be coming up to talk about the project and the timeline, and we'll hand the microphone over to them. Do you want this right here so we can? Yep.
Sure. Alrighty, good evening. As mentioned, tonight's presentation is taking a look at the capital improvement project work here at the high school and what we've been working on this summer and the progression of those work areas. We've really came out of the gates running with this project. The plan that was developed with the project team along with the district is being executed by all of our contractors, and we continue to hopefully have that success throughout the rest of this project. So just a look at the overall project budget. We have our Phase 1A prime contracts here at the high school, $20.5 million. We also have state contracts of $706,000. You can see the breakdown below there. We have our Phase 1B estimated construction budget value of $14.2 or $14.5 million. We have available funds for construction of $7.2 million. We have our incidental budget of $10.2 million, and then our project contingency of $3.4 million. So through the month of July, based on contractor pay applications, the Phase 1A project is approximately 5% complete. We have hardly scratched the surface with our construction contingency less than 1%. We're currently tracking just shy of $32,000 in pending issues. So far, the district's approved just shy of $10,000 in change orders, leaving us pretty close to the full amount of that construction contingency left, along with the allowances on the project of $220,000. So looking ahead into the next couple of weeks, work going on in the building. Obviously, kids will be back in the next 2 weeks, so we've been walking hand in hand with Bob and Aaron, taking a look at conditions in the corridors, spaces, getting ready for kids and staff to return. Outside of those efforts, though, we're continuing demolition work in the kitchen cafeteria area. We'll be basically wrapped up with removal of all of the floor slab by the end of this month, at which point the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing contractors will get in there to get their infrastructure work in, any below slab piping. We've also completed the electrical hookups for the temporary serving line that's located in the gymnasium. We also had the Department of Health out here last week to get that inspected. they found no issues there. Up on the second floor, we have been working on the 2 classrooms adjacent to the courtyard that will become a future classroom. We're going to be continuing the demolition there. We have the new permanent corridor wall in place. Along with that, we're continuing ductwork and temperature controls. And then out on site, our main focus this summer was making sure we got the turf field replacement completed, which we've done. The site contractor will now be moving over, and in the next couple of weeks, we'll be seeing earth moving work happening over there. So looking at the photos, here is our contractor staging area. This is in the south parking lot. And this is where contractor storage verties are, their office trailers, all within the fenced-in area. And then here's our temporary access road installed by our site contractor that runs along the west side of the building that gets contractors into the kitchen and cafeteria area. And then here's a look at the east corridor ceiling removals. We'll be working our way through most of the corridors, pulling down ceilings as we work new infrastructure, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing into the building. And here's a look at the kitchen, and you'll start to see the progression of demolition in this space. As walls were being knocked down, start to remove some of the floor slab. You really don't realize how large of a space it is until all those walls are down and you truly see how much space is in the middle of this building. Here's a look at the north courtyard and cafeteria B demolition. And then moving up to the second floor, here's the classrooms that are adjacent to that courtyard infill, again becoming that future classroom. And then out on site, here is the existing turf being removed. And then once they had the turf removed, they had to evaluate the subbase down there, do some fine grading, making sure we were at proper elevations before we started installation of the new turf. And then here's a time-lapse video where we'll take a look at the removal and new installation. Yes, we did have the time-lapse camera set up on top of the press box. However, the turkey vultures did not take kindly to that, so eventually we had to move that into the press box. You can see here, here's the fine grading work, moving their way through the field. Yeah, they they worked through just about anything. They were here on weekends working through this, making sure that we were going to be hitting our end date. If it only happened as quickly as it does on video. And you can see here they start to cut in all the hash marks for the football field, the yardage markers. You'll see the big F in the middle of the field cut in along with the Red Raiders at the bottom of the screen shortly.
So while that's happening, and for your visual references, you guys can watch that, but I'm going to ask some questions, some really pointed questions. And, you know, Mark, you can jump in, and I'm going to ask Mr. Clark to sort of get ready to come up and talk a little bit about swing space and things that we're doing. You know, I really want things done. I'm the first one in there saying not fast enough, right? You know, why are we just focusing here? And I know that we have work going on here, but why aren't we doing work behind there? Because we can get that field back 3 months sooner.
Correct. Our first and main concern with this summer's work was making sure that we got this stadium field back up and running for the start of school, with athletic tryouts starting early in August. We did not want to bite off more than we can chew. The original plan was always that multi-purpose field would take 1 year, one full school year of construction. So we had 2 summers to accomplish that, because it really doesn't end up being a whole heck of a lot of time once you get out on June 26th and then you're back in there September 9th. It just does not give us enough time to do that. So that was the plan originally, to always have
But that doesn't
outlined.
answer my question. Mark, I mean, you want to jump in, Mark? I mean,
So when we were doing the original phasing planning of the project, looking at this and knowing when we were going to bid and award contracts, we did not award contracts until May for this to happen, and working materials here and starting. The project would never have completed the turf field, the multi-purpose turf field for the baseball fields, in time for the spring season to happen. So the first priority became making sure that we had this field set, and then we'll work on this field, the multi-purpose field, starting this fall. Depending on weather, we'll get as far as we can. We believe we'll get to the sub-base down in that space, let it sit through the winter, settle out, come back early in the spring, do the fine grading, and then we'll put the turf on. It would never get done with the weather that we have here in New York State until summer of next year. So the over-promising of a field to tell somebody that they're going to have a season on it is something that we don't do or recommend or want to set your expectations unrealistically. So that is why, and so it was, even if we started this multi-purpose field at the exact same time here, we would have depleted our manpower to not be working on just the one field to turn it over in a timely fashion. We would have been working on 2, and we'd be up against a timeline of next week when you have a football game coming to be getting a field done for safety purposes also.
so as I've been watching happily, there's teams out there right now. I think the girls' soccer team was the very first team to practice on that field. So that was achieved. So again, we did talk about this, I think, in January, February, and I was saying, let's get it done, let's get it done, let's get it done, right?
We talked about this for 2 years, and for every purpose of every single aspect of the facility, the kitchen, the cafeteria, the science classrooms, we repeatedly explained the phasing in the intricate parts of these buildings that we have to put together to be able to have spaces get turned over for use to be able to get into the next space. When it comes to heating, plumbing, electricity, infrastructure has to be put throughout a building and into these spaces before they can be used. And specifically with the field, your old field was not passing any GMAX testing. You are not going to physically be able to use it unless we got this new field down. This was the #1 priority for the work this summer. And as you see, we're still completing demolition in the building. And talking with Kevin, we're not putting stuff back in this building right now, so we don't have the material issues for install right now because we are pulling parts and pieces out. And that was the reason for the field. We could have depleted our manpower and been up against the wall and potentially come in here and had to tell the Board of Education and the community that we weren't going to have a football game or a soccer game on that first when it was scheduled, but that's not something that anybody wants to do, and we're not going to set up for failure.
And then we have the demolition. I want to ask Mr. Clark to jump in here, and I know you have worked closely with the team on staging. The principals on all of our buildings, when they have projects, are intricately and intimately involved in the planning and organizing and the site management. They bring stakeholders together. Our cafeteria staff has been involved in this. Our kids, are they going to eat? And where are they going to eat? Is this news to you that you have to have swing space?
Absolutely not. And I guess, I thank you and the board for the vision to allow me to participate in the DAC process because I helped co-facilitate that group. So I've been working with these gentlemen for 3+ years on what the plan actually looked like. We've been talking about swing space for the latter part of this past year. So we always knew that we would be using the cafeteria would be in the gymnasium. Fritz and the PE teachers have known that they were going to be flexible. Honestly, COVID helped us a little last year in terms of developing lesson plans to work around the limited use of space. But we have a very safe cafeteria setup in the gym, even COVID friendly. We just verified yesterday that I can put 368 kids in there, and my number is 352, so I'm very excited about that. And so, yes, we're very aware of the swing space. We made some change. Our lower population of students helped us recover 2 classrooms to use as swing space upstairs in science. So it's not impacting instruction at all. And we will actually net gain a few extra classrooms because of the design that we, are forward thinking about potentially moving the ninth graders up. We'll actually have more science classrooms at the end of this 3 years than we currently have in that same hallway space.
How about food prep? I know that's not your,
Yep, no, I'm thoroughly immersed in it. So, so the food prep is actually, I know that there's a little bit of misinformation about where the food is being made and how it's being delivered. So again, in terms of swing space, we're using the chorus room. The side benefit of that, sometimes when you go into swing space areas, you actually get to upgrade some things. And there was some abatement that had to take place there. So we've actually improved the chorus room, and our chorus teachers, our music department is incredibly flexible, and we'll be moving chorus into the auditorium space. And 310 has been retrofitted to accommodate the food as it comes into the building, actually being cooked, I believe, at Northside Dudley. And so we, the location that we have between the buildings, it's the best setup for us. So the food will come in the side door so that it's not in a traffic flow, and it'll go into the chorus room, and from the chorus room across the hallway into the gym. A lot of planning, a lot of talking about how that was going to work. And again, the staff has been incredibly flexible.
and I'll look forward to, bringing board members in if you want to see it in action, because I'm looking forward to seeing it too. And I know there's been a lot of time. I'd also have to say that Aaron Smith, our Director of Buildings and Grounds, has been completely involved in making sure that we're dotting I's and crossing T's and being our advocate and voice, and working hand in hand with this team, with Matt Stevens. Who they communicate weekly, if not once, definitely. More than once, definitely one time a week at minimum, but multiple times. There's meetings and problem solving in Apollo 13 our way through this. So thank you for allowing me to.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Any questions from that respect from the board?
So we just showed the time lapse while we were talking for the kitchen demolition that was occurring.
Can we set the time lapse videos to some cool music and put it up on our YouTube? It's just it's so fun to
There you
watch,
go.
right?
It's a done deal.
Not circus music, please.
That's it.
Great idea.
So yeah, the planning of this has been going on for a long time. I think we started talking about it in 2017, so it's pushing 5 years of getting the planning to go, and in a lot of phasing. And Bob and Aaron and all of the administrators throughout all the buildings, especially 1B also, we've been having those conversations with the elementary buildings and the middle school buildings like Brett talked about. So there is a lot of behind the scenes and staff understanding what's coming to each one of these buildings. So yeah.
1B is the security entrances at each of our schools. It's the science classrooms and technology classroom at JP, science classroom at Martha Brown. It's the bus loop and reconfiguration at JA. I think I got that.
So we're scheduled to be bidding that work once it gets SED approval here in the fall. We'll be bidding that in the winter time. So we'll be coming to the board and going through that whole phasing plan with all that information and that scope of work here again, just to remind people what will be upcoming as we go into next spring and next summer throughout the entire district as we continue here to renovate Fairport High School.
And we know that you're on time because you were always honest with your time frame. And those of us who were part of it at the beginning, remember Peter trying to get you to cut a year or two off, but you didn't flinch. So we knew what to expect when. So thank you.
I think the only thing that changed is at one point we wanted to do lunch in the media center, and that was we showed up in the gymnasium. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Any other questions?
I don't have any.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so back to our agenda. We are at board discussion and action items. The first thing on here is a policy. Oh, geez. My phone won't turn off. The button's broken. So the first thing we have on here is there are policies. The first one is 5640. It's smoking, tobacco, and cannabis use. The next one is 5674, computer control and network and systems. 3420 is non-discrimination and anti-harassment in the school district. And This would be the first read. Is there any discussion? Oh, I have to do that first. Can I have a motion that the board approves the first reading of the policies I just read? Mary Caitlin, Marty, and discussion. Okay, all in favor? Aye. 4. Okay, so the next one is a second read. And let's see here. I need a motion from the board to approve the second reading of the following policies, and it is 3421, Title IX and sex discrimination, 3320, confidentiality of computerized information, 3280, use of school facilities. Can I have a motion? Okay, all in favor? Discussion?
Sorry, one quick question, and this is probably for Brett. Can our community use our school facilities this year? Because I know last year we had to have people out and people were sad because we have scouting and we have Girls on the Run and we have everything in our buildings. Can we open up to our community?
That's a great question. Right now, in areas and times of high transmission rates, we are not allowing outside groups to use our facilities. As we move through the next several weeks, we'll look at it. I've been communicating that with those who have been asking. So right now, during the high transmission rate, no.
Okay. Did we already do the motion? Okay. Let's vote. All in favor? Aye. 4. Yes. Okay, the next one is building visits. So I need a motion that the board approve the building visit calendar designated for 2021-22 school year as attached. And I know that we have seen this. Is there, okay, Mary Caitlin, Joyce, discussion? Okay. And all in favor? Aye. 4 yes. The next one is policy committee meetings. So a motion that the board approves the Board of Education or the Board Policy Committee meeting calendar designated for 2021-22 school year is attached. Can I have a motion? Joyce? Marty? Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye, 4 yes. Okay, the next one is extra classroom activity. So a motion that the Board of Education approves an extra classroom activity, which is the garden club at Joanna Perrin Middle School and at Martha Brown Middle School. Can I have a motion? Joyce, second, Mary Caitlin, discussion.
I just love it.
I know,
So always happy to approve extra clubs and whatever, and these two look especially nice. It actually came up in our
Facebook
meeting,
feed?
the DAC meeting.
Oh, good.
People commented on keeping up the yard and all that, and so this is lovely to see.
I just have a housekeeping question. So the JP one isn't signed and dated. And if these were received in June, do we usually try and move them quicker to the board? Or is it just because we're starting out the school year?
Matt, did you want to jump on that? Or
Yeah, we usually try to get it right on the agenda as soon as we have all the information done. So that's being signed and dated, and there was a correction to one of them to be sure we had the right dollar amount and stipend amount. So putting them together with the agenda as soon as we get to really have everything together. Yep. The last board meeting, remember, we had was July 1st, so all of that stuff was not in time to hit that, to make that board meeting.
I think you're just mentioning because my signature was not on that form. Yeah, absolutely. Yep, understood. Yep.
Are we good? We're going to add the date and the signature.
And I'm
we're
going to
good?
sign it.
Okay.
Yeah, they all get done and signed.
I know.
Yeah.
Yep, they all get done and signed and processed.
Okay, all in favor? Aye, 4 yes. Okay, this one is appointment of the central treasurers, extra classroom funds. So I would need a motion to approve the following appointments to monitor extra classroom funds for Fairport High School, which is Madison Shepherd. She'll be replacing Leanna Watt and Cheryl Deinhardt for the treasurer, and she'll be replacing Susan Miller. So can I have a motion? Marty, Mary Caitlin, any discussion on that? Okay, all in favor? Aye, 4 yes. The next one up is the code of conduct. I am just going to say that we had the option at the last workshop, I believe, where people could have come to make public comments.
comment, yep.
Yep, we did not have anybody. This was also presented at the last board meeting. And I know that Brett mentioned earlier that we are updating it throughout this year, but we do need to approve this one. So I need a motion to approve the code of conduct as attached. Can I have a motion? Joyce and Mary Caitlin, any discussion?
Erica and I were lucky enough to join the first meeting talking about the updating of the code of conduct through that restorative lens and the changes, and it's going to be very powerful and exciting and bring it up to modern day.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, and it will take time, so I guess that's what I keep reminding folks. It's not going to be a very fast process, so looking forward to it. All in, oh my gosh. Let's see here. What do I need to, all 4 in favor? Aye, 4 yes. I was trying to remember if I had to do anything else. The next one is UPK agreement, statewide full day pre-kindergarten. And I know Brett mentioned this a little bit before. A motion that the Board of Education approves the attached agreement between the district and Generations Childcare, Inc., starting July 1st, 2021, and ending on June 30th, 2022. Can I have a motion? Marty, Mary Caitlin, is there any discussion around this one? I'm going to go with no. So all in favor? Aye, 4 yes. There is an additional one right here. So this is the UPK agreement, statewide universal full day pre-kindergarten expansion. So I would need a motion that the Board of Education approves the attached agreement between the district and Generations Childcare, Inc., starting July 1st, 2021, and ending on June 30th, 2022. Is there a motion? Joyce? Marty? Any discussion on this one?
I'd be happy just to give a quick
I was going to say,
explanation.
yeah, do you
Yep.
mind? Thank
This
you.
is so the first one was the statewide universal full day pre-K funds we received at first back in 2014-15. That's a $360,000 grant we received for 2 full day classrooms of 18 students over at Generations. And this second agreement with Generations, most recently in the state budget, there's federal funds set aside to expand full day pre-K programs for 4-year-olds, and Generations is able to add a full day program of 18 students. So this is the contract for that program, which will take place over at the Pines. The district will receive approximately $5,400 per student for this program, and then we will be allocating funds, as Mr. Provenzano mentioned earlier, out of the American Rescue Plan grant to help supplement the amount that's not funded through the expansion funding. So there's a cap in terms of what school districts receive and what our district receives, and it's $5,400 per student in the program. So that is the 2 different programs and 2 different contracts and why they exist.
Okay, any other discussion? We're good?
Just that it's very exciting.
I was gonna
to have
say-
a big class.
I agree. I'm hoping we'll have more eventually.
Yeah, I would like to recommend that the board visits generations at both locations. I know you have choice to pick some specialties and be happy to go and probably read and interact and have fun with the kiddos. It's a great time, in as much as COVID lets us.
Good point. Okay, all in favor? Aye. 4 yes. Okay, the next one is Subcommittee on Special Education. And this is a motion to approve the composition of the Subcommittee on Special Education for the 2021-2022 school year. Jamie Naples and Sarah Klausner will be at Dudley. Madison Shepherd will be for Minerva DeLand, and Lindsay Keel will be at the high school, and I guess Ryan Kuhn will be at the high school as a substitute. Can I have a motion? Mary Caitlin, Joyce? Any discussion? No? Okay, all in favor? Aye. 4. The next one is a transportation contract, National Express / Monroe Transportation. The proposed resolution that the Board of Education approves the contract between the district and the National Express Monroe Transportation in the anticipated amount of $156,036 or $38, sorry. Can I have a motion? Mary Caitlin? Second. Marty? Any discussion? Do you mind? Okay.
Thank
Going to add, this is renewing our contract with Monroe. This is supporting our small buses. So there's 2 different contracts, a small bus contract and large bus, approximately 5 buses. Anticipated at this time. Again, it's anticipated amounts. The amount is allowed to be changed per the state and, any dollars within the contract. But this is the small bus agreement with Monroe. And the paperwork you see is what has to go to SED in order to generate the aid on the contract.
So I guess going off of this, do these Monroe Transportation National Express, do this get us to a good spot to start the school year in terms of busing and transportation? Are we still in a difficult place? How are we looking?
Still in a difficult place. So when we reached out to other contractors to see if there's any ability for assistance and, keep moving forward with that and also pushing to, recruit and hire at the same time. So all efforts, being made both, HR, transportation, to try to get to, a great spot or an ideal spot at best. So.
Thanks, Matt. All in favor? Aye. 4 yes. This is the second one that you just talked about, transportation contract number 2, National Express Monroe Transportation. The proposed resolution is that the Board of Education approves the contract between the district and National Express Monroe Transportation in the anticipated amount of $707,746. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Marty, Joyce. Any other discussion on this one? It's similar. Okay, all in favor? Aye. The next one is the district goals that we as a board worked on at the workshop that we had a few weeks ago. I know that Brett showed them before, you can see right there, but a motion to approve the following 2021-22 district goals. You mentioned it before, but in order to connect and reconnect with our learners, we as a district will welcome, celebrate, and affirm the story of every child. We honor our diversity and are committed to equitable and inclusive opportunities for all, and we will review and reset the strategic plan. Can I have a motion? Mary Caitlin, Joyce, any discussion?
I would just say, upon approving them, I do want to look at sustainability and adding some. Our last speaker moved me, and I think she made some good points, and we really need to include some more of that. There may be some in our strategic plan. I can't really remember exactly what, but I think we need to take another look and write a goal that's not just wrapped up in something else, but its own goal. But we can do that further down. It's always a work in progress, so.
Anyone else? No? Okay, all in favor? Aye. 4-0. Which brings us to board comments. So would anyone like to share some comments?
I just want to highlight the celebration of having kids back in school 5 days a week. Like, I think we're getting lost in a lot of the weeds, and this is a huge change from last year. And I know I have a almost Dudley dragon that is very excited about being back in school, or getting to start school. So thank you for everything everybody in the district has done to make this possible.
I would agree. Lots of work has been put into it, and I think being flexible has been key. So I'm excited for the upcoming year as well. Okay, the next is executive session. So this is where we will stop live streaming, and I need a motion to enter into executive session for matters related to the discussion matters of collective bargaining unit. We will be inviting into the executive session Brett, Provenzano, Doug, and Matt as well. Can I have a motion? Mary Caitlin? Joyce? All in favor? Aye. And I think the time, do I have to give you the time? 8:56. So thank you for coming. Thank you for, I know. Thanks for bearing with me yes, and just as a reminder, we will reconvene just to close out the meeting, but it won't be live streamed, and we're just probably going to go home. You will not miss anything exciting.